أول نهار ما فيش حدا فاهم كان شو صار. فجأة الساعة 6:30 الصبح ففي صوت عالي كتير صار وإشي، فبطلع من الشباك بس لقيت صواريخ بطلع. فبحكي لماما إنه في ضرب وإيش زي هيك. نروح على المدرسة، حكت لي تدلع بس روحي يلا كمل لبس وروحي على المدرسة بكوني بتدربها وإيش زي هيك.
لي شخصيا يعني احنا بنجري بالدنيا كلها وفي يوم، في ساعة، في ثواني بتتغير كل المعايير.
بتنتقموا منا في الأولاد، بتنتقموا منا في الأولاد.
ما عاد في بيت، ما عاد في بلد، ما عاد في مستقبل، ما عاد في عمل. هذا بالنسبة لي شخصيا ولكل شخص يعني.
Israeli commanders have been deployed all over Gaza as the bombardment continues.
Ambulances raced dead and wounded to an already overcrowded hospital in Deir al-Balah in the Gaza Strip on Thursday.
So we can now confirm that Australian woman Zomi Frankham was one of the 4 international aid workers killed in an alleged Israeli airstrike alongside their Palestinian driver.
At least 80 people are reported to have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school sheltering displaced people in Gaza.
An Israeli airstrike has killed 5 Palestinians in the Jabalia refugee camp.
Overnight, fire and horror in Rafah.
It would begin in central Gaza, where an Israeli airstrike on the grounds of Al-Aqsa Hospital has killed at least 4 Palestinians and injured dozens.
There was a kid who was starving, hungry, with a couple of kids around, and they were watching the Israelis in a house and waiting for them to leave. So after the Israelis left, they went to the house and they tried to find something to eat. They were hungry. And they found a tuna can. And unfortunately, it was a booby trap. So once they opened that, the kid lost 4 limbs and his vision. You can't forget.
Over the past year, stories just like this have become commonplace. Gaza has become a graveyard, a catastrophe in real time as the world watches. Some have had the opportunity to witness these horrors for themselves, and the words they share are barely comprehensible.
So when we arrived into Gaza, we arrived at the Shuhada al-Aqsa Hospital, which is in Deir al-Balah, at about 9 or 9:30 p.m. in the evening. It's exceptionally noisy and chaotic when you first walk in, so there's thousands of people everywhere. There's patients on their beds in the open courtyard getting some fresh air. There's ambulances turning up to the emergency department, obviously with the sirens going. If there's been an injury, someone might be screaming and being carried through or running past you. Even just walking around and going up to our accommodation, there are people living in every inch of the corner of the hospital. So you'll see, a young girl with metalware on her legs because she's sustained injuries from a bombing or explosion. They'll have their clothes hanging up on a line. There'll be kids running around with big empty gallons trying to go fill up water.
Myself, I had to operate on whole family. So there was a kid who was 1 year, his brother was 4 years, 5 years, all got shrapnel injuries to the abdomen. And their mom was next door in the next theater. She got a femoral artery injury, so the vascular surgeon was operating on her. And the dad had a chest trauma with a chest tube again. They have no supports.
We got taken on a bit of a tour throughout the hospital. And again, the things that were so overwhelming was just the smells. There's no real ventilation or treatment for wounds. So all these infected wounds everywhere give off a particular smell. Everything is exceptionally hot. There's no air conditioning. Patients are staying in areas that are like just big sheds. There's no privacy anywhere. So oftentimes I would walk out of the operating theatre and there was a patient, this young kid who's maybe 10 or 12 years old with wounds that need to be cleaned every day. And it would be done in the middle of a hallway where anyone could see his wounds being washed, and he'd be screaming from the pain because there was no pain relief. And unfortunately, what everyone has had to do there is just to be able to live with it.
The worst one was when you're operating on somebody and you wish that he will die because he had significant injuries, he can't survive. So you try your best, but if he survives, he will lose, like, I don't know. So that was really tough.
Dr. Jamal and Dr. Bushra were among a special medical mission that was deployed into Gaza in June 2024. They saw the horrors firsthand, the impact on children, on families. They witnessed the genocide that many of us are still trying to make sense of.
How can you make sense of the killing of over 40,000 people, the total destruction of Gaza? You can't really make sense of it.
This genocide, subhanAllah, has affected every layer of our community, from the mothers to the children. There's this sense of anxiety. We're overwhelmed. So it's affecting our everyday life, just the basic things of being present with our children. That's being affected because we're so much more reactive. It's taken a huge toll on our community.
It has been a year so far. I hate sitting here today, speaking about 1 year of atrocities, 1 year of constant killing, bombardment. So far, we're talking about 41,000 plus people who lost their lives in Gaza in 1 year. And to put this into context, we're talking about 113 innocent lives being lost every single day.
The images of a year's worth of bombing, destruction and death has left many in the Ummah feeling broken and hopeless. In Gaza itself, however, helping each other is a big part of people's mindset, and they plan for almost every situation in advance. This is how they manage to survive and keep their faith intact through situations that would have broken most people in the world.
I guess in Gaza our aim is to keep the hope going for the people in Gaza, whether it be for the kids, for the families, to ensure that they are thriving in that little space of land.
As an INGO, part of our policy is to have a storage and to have supplies in areas of conflict of up to 6 months. And alhamdulillah, everybody knew that Gaza is an area of conflict. Attacks are constant on our people of Gaza. So therefore, the supplies that Islamic Relief had in place were very much helpful in the first months of the conflict. So we had more than 2 million items of medical supplies that we provided to our people on the ground. We had food packs, we had some shelter, we had blankets, hygiene kits, and that has made a huge difference in the first months of the conflict. We don't wait until we fundraise the money and then go and spend it. This is the difference between being on the ground, having a good infrastructure, being able to respond first and respond in the very first hours of any conflict.
Since October the 7th, we've been able to mobilize our resources to build various mobile kitchens, as they would call it, in various spaces in Gaza. We were able to deliver over 8 million hot meals. Those were being delivered daily to the people in Gaza. We also were able to mobilize our resources, the various supplies that we had, to send various medical supplies to hospitals, and that was over 2 million medical supplies delivered to various hospitals, including Al-Shifa Hospital as well. We also have a partnership with the World Food Programme, where we are the largest implementing partner, where Islamic Relief staff delivered over 32 million hot meals since October the 7th.
The work to support the people of Gaza does not just take place in the occupied territories. It is work that requires our collective effort, a global effort, with resolve as incredible as theirs, to keep going in the face of seemingly impossible odds.
غزة منطقة محدودة المساحة، محدودة السكان، محدودة الإمكانيات، محدودة الآثار فيما مضى، ومحدودة الطاقة، ومع ذلك شاء الله لها أن تكون سيدة الدنيا. شاء الله لها أن تكون مثالا للصمود، وأن تكون مثالا للصبر، وأن تكون مثالا للتضحية، وأن تكون مثالا للفداء، وأن تعطي نموذج ندر أن يكون في الزمن الحاضر نظيرا له. غزة في حقيقة الأمر أحدثت في نظري ما يشبه البانوراما لنشاهد فيها غزوة الأحزاب، ونشاهد فيها غزوة بدر، ونشاهد فيها أصحابة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في صور بشر يقدمون الدماء ويقدمون الأبناء، ونساء يقدمن الزوجات ويقدمن الأبناء وفلذات الأكباد، ثم يقولون رجالا ونساء: يا رب خذ من أبنائنا ما شئت، خذ من دمائنا ما شئت، خذ من أرواحنا ما شئت حتى ترضى. هذا نموذج قلب كل الموازين.
Just as they have shown us what resilience looks like, we too must act with a determination worthy of their spirit. Locally, Islamic Relief Australia has partnered with PANSMA, the Palestinian, Australian and New Zealand Medical Association, to plan the next medical mission to Gaza to support our brothers and sisters.
We established a network of volunteers, and then we made a link whereby newly arrived Gazans can fill that link out and advise us of what medical help they need. After we triage it, we link them with one of our volunteers. The overwhelming majority of them have required GPs and dentists, but also allied health professionals, psychiatric help, psychological help, things of that nature. There's actually two cases that stand out for me. The first case is a gentleman who survived an airstrike on his house. 10 family members of his were killed, and he was found in the streets a few hundred meters away with both his legs broken, shattered completely. Yeah, they managed to do a quick fix in Gaza, and then they went on to send him to Egypt, and then his visa was granted and he was allowed to come to Australia. He got into contact with PANSMA, and he sent me his x-rays and he sent me his medical history. I had a look through it, and I made contact with one of our volunteers, and alhamdulillah, he managed to do both his legs at, as I understand it, very little cost to the family. I think they were out of pocket very little. I think roughly I estimated maybe the surgery would have cost around $70,000 to $80,000, all paid for, the majority of it, by that volunteer and his networks.
But the work does not stop there. The work to support the people of Gaza goes far beyond, and each of us are obliged to do what we can to support their cause.
Nothing I can do on the inside will help stop the war, but my role here now that I'm back is to be able to platform the voice of the Palestinians that I met in Gaza, and to do what I can in terms of trying to help alleviate their suffering by bringing this war to an end.
Everybody should try to help from his side as much as he can. Doesn't need to be a doctor, engineer, wherever definitely has a role to play and help, get Gaza out of what they are in. So whatever little thing, I'm sure it has significant impact.
While we see the ongoing genocide and occupation against our brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, this brought the Muslim community together, whether here in Australia or overseas, and we've realized that it's important for us to bond, to be united and stand together for our Muslim brothers and sisters and for justice overall. The Palestinian cause hasn't started from the 7th of October. It's been an ongoing 77 years of suffering, 77 years of massacres, 77 years of genocide, 77 years of occupation, 77 years of ongoing onslaught on our brothers and sisters. And the difference that we see this time around, that this put the Palestinian cause on the map, and people had realized that the Palestinian people have been suffering for a very, very long time, and they've seen the aggression of the Israeli occupation.
And I think it's that pain. That pain is what drives us to act. Because without that pain, we're just going to continue. So subhanAllah, it's like Allah is telling us, feel the pain so that you can do something. Find what it is that you can do and do it. Because each and every single one of us has a role and a part to play in this. Every single one of us has something to offer.
If I may say so, a taxi driver can help. Some of these patients don't know how to get to their location. So if I call a taxi driver, I said, look, there's a Gazan family, for example, in Bankstown, they need to see a doctor in Auburn. He can pick them up and drop them off, and that's his, that's his khair for the day.
My hope is that we don't lose momentum. My fear is that people become complacent. The killing will stop. The bombs will stop falling on Gaza, but we can't stop. and we've got to continue. We have to continue. I mean, this would be such a dishonouring of the memory of the victims, the shuhada that have died, the thousands that have died, the children that have become orphans. If we stop and we don't continue to push as Muslims, we would have failed in our obligations towards the Palestinian people.
الحياة اللي عشناها كتير كانت صعبة، وبرضه بس إحنا حنضل صامدين إن شاء الله ومش هنستسلم، وإن شاء الله الحرب تخلص وربنا يفك أسر الأسرى ويرحم الشهداء ويشفي الجرحى إن شاء الله.
And just as it has in the past, our community will continue to sacrifice for the people of Palestine. We will do all we are capable of by giving our energy, wealth and time to this cause, answering the call of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he said, "The likeness of the believers in regard to mutual love, mercy and kindness is that of one body. When any part aches, the whole body aches."
عسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم. That's one thing that it's done. It's actually united the Muslim community here.
Honestly, I feel like Palestine is a mirror for the believers. It's exposed our weaknesses, but it's also uncovered our strengths.
I've never seen such a spontaneous activation of grassroots activism. And this has been a very promising development. Inshallah, this is something that we can see continuing.
When we talk about Palestine, Australia is probably one of the furthest, but I could assure you that we are one of the closest when it comes to supporting our brothers and sisters and standing in solidarity with them. And that's what makes the Australian Muslim community so unique.
People here, whatever they contribute, I think will have significant impact. Yeah, I mean, it's not good what's happening in Gaza or we feel bad, but honestly, it's a great opportunity. You can make business with Allah if you donate. So it's a significant opportunity for people, to contribute and make a business. That's just like your business, like buying, selling. This is with Allah. So whatever people provide is really make a massive difference in Gaza. So I think that's very, very important. If people understand it, it's opportunity. It's not good, but it happened. And people really need to maximize the use of it and make business and deal with Allah.